morning.
We did it. Hi, Cindy.
Hi, Diana.
Nice to see you.
It's lovely to see you. Together. I'm looking forward to this, and I know everyone else is as well. Even if they can't join us, they can watch it in replay later.
Thank you.
So welcome to the Colorado End of Life Collaborative community. I want to introduce Dianna to everyone. Dianna Vagianos Armentrout.
Thank you.
Say it correctly. Is a writer and an author of this beautiful book, Walking the Labyrinth of My Heart, A Journey of Pregnancy, Grief, and Newborn Death. Lovely book. If you don't have this yet, you'll definitely want to get that. And she is also a newly joined affiliate member of the Colorado End of Life Collaborative. So we'd love to welcome you officially as a new member. And you're also my friend and my colleague. So I'm so thrilled to have this conversation with you this morning. This is the month of October, which is designated the Pregnancy and Infant Loss Remembrance or Awareness Month. And I know in our conversations you mentioned that we get 1 month.
Right.
But for those who've experienced it, it's every day.
Yeah.
And recently we have this story in the news of Chrissy Teigen and John Legend, very well known, who openly shared their experience with a pregnancy loss just a couple weeks ago, I think it was. And they got a lot of support, but they also got a lot of backlash for being so open and public about it.
Right.
But they also understand it's a difficult subject to talk about, which is why they wanted to share that for other people to be supportive. So welcome everyone. Let's see, do we have any viewers this morning? Do you see anyone on with us this morning?
Yes, we have some viewers.
Wonderful. Welcome everybody. We're happy to have you. So Dianna, I would love to turn it over to you. I wanted to ask if you'd be comfortable in sharing your story of your beautiful daughter, Mary Rose, with us.
Thank you. And thanks for the lovely introduction and for inviting me. I was in my middle of my pregnancy. I went for the routine ultrasound and we found out that she had trisomy 18, which is an interesting illness because the outcomes aren't always the same. So some of the genetic illnesses, the babies die for sure right after birth, or most of them are born still. But with Mary Rose, we needed to prepare for the chance that she lives. About 5 to 8% of babies with trisomy 18 live to be at their first birthday. So the numbers are very low. And so we started this journey of, it was everyone having opinions and telling us what to do. And, oh, you're pro-choice, so you should have an abortion. Oh, you don't have faith in God, or you're having negative thoughts and that's why this is happening to you. And all, just all these things that aren't helpful at all. Mm-hmm. And so we had to make some tough decisions about whether or not to use life support and how to birth. So we did that. We got through. She lived an hour. And one person said after, if you had had an abortion, you wouldn't be so sad now. Which isn't true either way. But
it's not true.
Anyhow, the point is that, when we talk about bringing awareness to these issues, how do people react to us? How do people support families who've had miscarriages, who've had pregnancy loss, infant loss? And to this day, when I talk to my son's friends' parents at school, right, they ask how many children. When I say 2 and 1 died, they get very uncomfortable. And, I was thinking how there's one mom, Nicole, who who befriended me. She could hold the space for this loss, and she could respond to my messages, which most can't, you know. And I've had 4 pregnancies, and I have my 1 living son. So this idea that because we're American and if we eat organic strawberries and take our prenatals, that we somehow, you know, magically have this perfect, healthy, not just healthy, but beautiful and smart. You know, these are the outcomes we expect in this country.
Sure. The perfect child.
The perfect child, right? And so pregnancy and we have a very high mother mortality rate in our country. Our infant mortality rate is, you know, I think it's the highest in the Western countries. So there's a lot that we don't talk about. And that's why I love you and your organization and your book, because we have to talk about it. There's so 1 million babies die every year before their first birthday. Every year.
1 million.
1 million.
1 million.
We have the miscarriage rates. They say 1 in 4, but many providers feel that it's 1 in 3 or higher, because most don't go to the doctor, you know, in the first few weeks of pregnancy.
True. Yeah.
So who's supporting all those families? Who is able to talk to people? My grandmother had many miscarriages, and she talked about them until she died. It's part of our fabric. It's part of our body, you know, and the cells of all the children we've conceived and born are inside of us, right? So we have all of this.
Yes.
And so how do we make this work available to people? How do we support folks who are suffering quietly, you know?
And it doesn't go away. I worked with a hospice patient, a woman in her 80s, who had some dementia from an illness that she had, which was causing some dementia symptoms. And so she had some memory challenges and things like that. But in my very first meeting with her, when I sat down and asked her to tell me about herself, she told me about her 2 living children and her daughter who died at birth, and told me her name and told me her experience. And see, this never goes away.
No.
There's no reason to think that it's an event that happens and then it's gone and done with, or we grieve it away.
Or grief ends,
we don't grieve
right?
it away.
Or that we get to this
or
point,
grief ends,
you know,
yeah.
you can get to this peak of grief and all of a sudden it magically goes away. Or the other, my favorite thing to say is, you can have another. People looked at me while I was pregnant and said that to me, you know. And I realized people say these things for themselves, to comfort themselves, because they're uncomfortable. You know,
they're uncomfortable.
They're uncomfortable.
In fact, that was one thing I wanted to ask you to do that now, or we can. What are the most unhelpful things to say to someone who is either expecting a pregnancy loss or has had a pregnancy loss or the death of a child? What are the things that aren't helpful? And then what are the things that are helpful, if there are any things that really help?
I think what is really important to remember is that a family going through these decisions doesn't need your opinion. Unless you've been through it. Now, if you have had to make those very decisions, if you can mentor a family, as Cubby LaHood did, mentored me through Isaiah's Promise. She lost her Francis, and she co-founded Isaiah's Promise with Nancy Meyer Whittington, and they support families who choose to carry to term, you know, after these, they call them life-limiting diagnoses. You know, if you've been through it, then by all means, very gently mirror the family, right? Because families make different decisions. But I think, you know, the conversation about faith is hard, you know, because it's very judgmental. And to me, it blames the mother again, right? Oh, you're not, you don't believe in a miracle. Our genetic testing now is about 99.8% accurate, you know? So, and also I knew I had carried a healthy boy, and I knew that my pregnancy was very different with Mary Rose. And I just had this sense that she was going to die, and people couldn't, you know, they were judging, you know. So what is helpful is to say, I don't know what you're going through. I'm here. I'm here. That's it. I'm here for you. I mean, in my book, I say, bring some tea, bring a cup of tea and a box of tissues. Can you sit with somebody? Can you just sit on the couch? Can you just sit there and watch?
And hold that space.
Don't say
hold that
anything,
space.
because what can you say? You can't fix it. We don't have medicine.
No.
We don't have any of these things.
Words can't talk it away.
Yeah. No. And people continue to say these things that are unhelpful, and the trite things. Oh, time heals all. It doesn't. We just got through the 6th year. It was awful. Was it worse because of pandemic and isolation? Probably. But I have not had one year that was like, oh, this was much easier than last year, for her birthday or for.
Well, and also I would think that you get to those milestone years. And that is a part of the grief, sort of like brings it to this fresh perspective that, oh, Mary Rose would be starting kindergarten, or right. So those milestone years that you might.
I try not to do that, but when my son reaches a milestone, I feel it. So everything is this, this like sad joy. What I call this joyous grief, right? Which is the
I
work
like that.
I'm doing, and I'm having a class on that in February. So this idea that we can hold this grief and hold this space and honor the dead, right, as we need to do. Keep them a part of our family. Count them as
and
our
honor
children.
Their life.
Absolutely.
However short.
Absolutely. And bring them in, So for Christmas, I get an angel ornament every year, and I give it to my son, and I give it to my niece and nephew. I cry every year. This is hard, but I want something. I want some memory of her. And I have my rose garden for Mary Rose, and I expanded. And I have to tell you, Cindy, I wish I could show you a picture. Her white rose bush is turning pink. And it is astounding to see these. They're like 5 white roses, and there's 1 pink one. And so this idea that in the natural world, we can find the connection through hummingbirds. Many lost, what do we call ourselves? Lost moms, theory moms. They'll see a butterfly and they'll feel the presence of their child, or birds or feathers, So this connection is healthy, to keep the connection with a child, to honor all our losses, and to just be transparent about it. So I'm here. That's all I say. I am here for you. That must be so hard. I don't know what you're going through, but I'm here.
And it's okay to not know what somebody's going through. You can still provide support.
You can.
Even if you haven't had that experience.
You can love,
for sure.
right? We can love each other.
You can. Oh, yeah. You can.
And when I teach my class on my book, one of my favorite exercises is I pair people up. And I couldn't do it on our Zoom class, but I could in person. I pair people up who don't know each other, and they just sit back to back. And we do that for a few minutes, and no one talks. And we do other exercises, but that's the one that is the most powerful, people find, because you can just kind of relax into that person's shoulders and back, And then we have this. That's what we need more of in this. We need community. We don't, this whole idea of, I told you this, the bereaved Mother's Day, the Sunday before, and then Mother's Day. What is that? Are you going to split me in two? No, let's be united. Let's have the unity. We are mothers. I know a woman who had a stillborn and a late miscarriage. She's still a mother. She has no living children.
Yes.
But we differentiate. We try to, split each other apart. And there's this whole thing between mothers. Oh, well, I'm more tired. I have 4 children, and all this stuff. We could just get rid of all of it and just hold space for each other.
Or that competition of stay-at-home moms and working moms, and
we don't need any of it. And there's a lot of that with the loss. There's a lot. This idea that you'll get a rainbow baby, which many people find contentious, that there's, after a loss, you're going to be blessed with this heavenly, child. Nothing will happen to it. That's not helpful either. And
it's not helpful. and how do you think that label impacts that child? that
Yeah.
they label the child the rainbow
Right.
baby, and that baby grows up being
Mm-hmm.
introduced that way, maybe probably as an infant,
Mm-hmm.
not probably later, but maybe, I don't know,
Yeah.
but being introduced to people as, oh, this is my rainbow
Mm-hmm.
baby.
Mm-hmm.
And now that child has, it seems like, some type of expectation.
I think it's hard. I think it's hard to be the child
Yeah.
after a lot. And I also think so my midwife told me this story after Mary Rose. She had a mom whose baby died and she quickly got pregnant after in succession. She had two. And then her grief hit her. She had I think a toddler and a baby. So it is so important that we do our grief work, that we feel
Yes.
it, and there's nothing more physical than the grief of a newborn when your milk is coming in, when you have no baby, when your hormones are waking you up at night. There's nothing, right? The blood of miscarriage, the cramps, all of that. It is so physical. We live in our bodies. And so for people to kind of, dismiss it and sweep it under the rug, it is so unhelpful. And it is really disempowering to women, I feel, because,
Very much so.
and so
Because the body doesn't just stop. The body
no.
has its natural process.
And it remembers. I mean,
Yeah.
have you had a loss and then a year
Mm-hmm.
later you're sad and you don't remember why? That's happened to me a few times. I was like, oh, it's the anniversary of, Connie's death or something like that. And your body knows, right? We remember.
Yes.
And
The
so
body
we
remembers.
need
Yeah.
to, I feel like we need to really honor women and their losses and let their bodies remember and let them weep and let them feel this, because it is lifelong. We are never going to forget. And we're very lucky that now we have the opportunity to hold our babies, to be with them. I met a woman, actually, I taught with her daughter when I taught at Southern in Connecticut. And her mom, they just took the stillborn away. She never saw her. And I think they buried them in mass graves at the time in the Catholic hospital. It's terrible. But at least, so now we have these opportunities, not always, but in many cases where they have
Not always,
the
but yeah.
warmers, right? And you can be with your baby. We have a right
Yes.
to take care of the baby's body. The baby does not have to go in the morgue. Don't let them tell you that.
Yes.
We have all of these choices now, and so we're very blessed to have that.
And even choices to home funeral.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
To home funeral the baby, to take the baby home.
And I need
home funeral the
to
baby.
give such a shout out to my bereavement doula and to all the bereavement doulas who can hold space for pregnancies like this, who can hold these babies and smile, because that is the biggest gift they can give the family. And women who are willing, the doulas who are willing to do this work, because it's not easy for them. They have their grief over this
Sure.
too. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think we're making progress. I hope
I think so.
that we're making progress in our culture and in the way that we do allow that honoring openly and for caretaking of the baby and the mother, and the father as well in that situation. I wanted to ask you about the classes that you're offering now, and also how someone can keep in touch with you and your offerings, so that they can see what you have coming up and be sure and learn from you in your educational practices.
This is how I see Mary Rose. This is why I don't imagine her in kindergarten. I did the cover. Yeah, and so everyone's different. It's okay, whatever you do. So my book is available on Amazon. I'm on Instagram at Labyrinth of My Heart. I have a Facebook. I have two Facebook pages. One is Labyrinth of the Heart for Grief, and one is Dianna Vagianos Armentrout Writer. So people can join me there. My website is diannavagianos.com. I'll put it in a comment underneath. And so I have two different sets of classes. I have my classes on the grief and on my book, and that is geared for healing of grief. It is geared for providers, doulas, for other birth workers, therapists, and it is a space where we would look at how to support families. And it is an appropriate class for grieving folks as well. And then I have my creative writing classes that are coming up. So I have one. I wrote it down last night. I have one called A Holiday Retreat and Writing Class on November 22nd, holding our loved ones who died during the holiday season, because I think it is so hard. And it's on a Sunday from 2 to 5 Mountain Time. My next class on my book is November 15th and 16th. And then I have Joyous Grief, Finding Beauty in a Broken World, starting in February, because things have been so crazy with this pandemic. I just thought I'd give us some space, and we'll take it up next year. And so people can message me and find me on social media or through my website.
Thank you for sharing that. And yes, I think I'm having you, even at the end of this video, you can go back and put in the comment field your websites and things like that.
Do
you want to read some of the comments?
Yeah, if I can't figure it out. I'm not the most techie person. So Valerie says, wonderful to remember year round. And we do, don't we? Every day. I had a friend who said, oh, this mom lost her baby at the end of her pregnancy, and I don't want to remind her. I don't want to upset her. Right. And I said, she's not going to forget. There are some people who want privacy and don't want to talk about it, but I don't think that's the majority of folks. So I said,
if they do, they'll tell you, won't they?
They will. And I said, write her a note. It doesn't have to be a big production. Write her a note and leave it on her desk. Send an email, let's get back to our postal service and handwriting notes. I think that's so helpful. Just, I'm thinking of you. I'm thinking of you. We had a tragedy in our church this summer, and I'm about to reach out to the woman. I'm just going to say, I'm thinking of you. And then if they want company and they want to get together, they'll let you know, So how do I read the okay, they move. Love the ornament idea. Thank you. We have one that says, my sister is murdered, and I find that people want to know all the details. Why do you think that is so? And yet many who know of your loss don't want to talk about it. What a good question. Thank you. That's Carrie. Humans do want to know details, don't they? They do. I don't know. Susan Sontag wrote a piece on that, right? How we have that goal, like we'd like to see car accidents and things that happen. I couldn't really answer that, the why people are so curious. And maybe because this particular story has a little more drama, perhaps people are more interested. I think babies are taboo. I think if you lose a living child, if you lose a parent, if you lose a friend, it's more easy for people to relate to that or to talk about it. They don't do great with it. But I think with babies, we just have this presupposition that they're all going to be healthy and fine. And I think it makes us very uncomfortable. But the reality is, in the history of humanity, from the beginning of humanity, we have been losing our babies and burying them. And just because we're in postmodern America doesn't mean it doesn't happen, so that's part of this myth. Do you want to add to that, Cindy?
Well, I think some of it's human nature to want to ask about details. I think the taboo around babies is in many ways the taboo around death itself, which is, if I talk about it, then I make it real, right? And so I think babies, it's not a natural course to lose a baby, certainly not at birth. And I think that people think, well, if I don't think about it, I don't talk about it, I don't acknowledge it, then it won't happen to me, or it doesn't happen. And that's just not true. And then what that creates is, if we're a world who is like that, then what that creates is a tremendous lack of support for people who are going through that situation, who cannot talk about it because nobody wants to talk about it.
Yeah. And we're isolated. We don't live in our villages anymore.
Very much.
And so what does it mean for us to form communities and to really be there for our people? and to reach out to people, you know. I've talked about our religious organizations. There's so much support over a new baby, meal trains, and you know, oh, people will go over and hold the baby. And when it comes to families with losses, there's almost no support. There is almost no support, and we need it more. With all
Absolutely.
respect to the exhausted parents caring for those living children, we need more support. And what does it say that we can't do that in our communities, you know?
Yeah, what does that say? It's
And I also think
well,
it's like it's
and
catching.
that's why we talk about it.
And that it's like it's catching, right? Because I did go to a mom's group when he was 2.5 when Mary Rose died, and I could feel people pulling back. It was like, oh my gosh, it could happen to me now. Like it's, you know, like it's transmittable. So there's that also. Like people don't want to see moms whose
Well,
babies have died because then it reminds them, oh, my baby could die. You know.
because that's reality, and let's live in denial, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is that. I don't, you know, it's 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 so much about death in general
Mm-hmm.
for those of us who work
Mm-hmm.
in end of life. Um, it's you know, one of my goals is to help people talk about it,
Mm-hmm.
and in a safe space, to create that safe space so that we can talk about it. And it's, you know, and having you uh, chat with us today, I think, is an opportunity for people to get permission to talk about it. And it's okay.
It's
It's
okay.
okay.
And it's okay to
It's
weep.
okay.
And it's okay to remember
It's
this for
okay to
your whole
weep.
life. You know, we do. It's okay to talk about it. It is okay to talk about this, to remember
Yeah,
your children, to bring them up, they're part of our family,
they are.
you know.
They are indeed. So let's see. Did we have any other comments on there?
I don't think so.
It's hard to do this on the phone. I love your angel ornament idea, Marissa says. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's all. I don't see any questions on there. So let's see. What else did I have? You know, I quoted your book in my book, and the part that I quoted was the part about talking about it. And so, would you be okay if I just read that part?
Of course. Please read it.
So this is on page 66, and you say, you share a conversation that you had, and then you say, I was speaking to my friend Jen about this very thing. She says she doesn't want to bring up the dead baby at work because she does not want to upset the mother. But the mother is never going to forget the baby. We remember our children, living and dead. And for Jen to tell her coworker that she is thinking of her child, she would acknowledge the child's existence, which is what we want. We don't get the milestones, the parties, the graduations, the holidays. So can our world give us an acknowledgement of the existence of our children? This Thanksgiving, so this is timely, right? We have Thanksgiving coming up next month. This Thanksgiving, can we open our hearts to be grateful for the living and the dead? Can we make space around our tables for the memories of our children and other loved ones who have passed away? We remember the grandparents and parents and aunts, but when it comes to the children, we do not want to speak their names.
And speaking their names is so healing. You know, remembering them in a card at the holidays, remembering the birthdays and anniversaries. I had 2 friends bring me flowers on Mary Rose's birthday this year. I can't tell you how much that touched me.
Oh,
Friends,
that's so
new
thoughtful.
friends from Colorado, you know, no one who knew her baby.
New friends who weren't there at the time you experienced
Right,
that, but
yeah.
know of Mary
Yeah, and
Rose.
that's
Yeah.
so touching, so sweet. We have a question from Vanessa. How do we best support our friends who have recently lost babies? Do we ask about it or not? I would say yes. I would say we ask about it. I mean, we give space at the beginning of a loss, I think, for that shock to wear off a little bit. But again, a note, a text. Um, I've also read that we don't ask, was that in your book, Cindy? That you don't just say the general, let me know if you need something, but that you ask very specifically, right? You say, do you need a meal this week? Do you, because people tend to brush it off. And I think that grief is so, when it first happens, I wrote, it's like molasses, like you're stuck. You can't move.
You don't know what you need.
Yeah, you just can't
right?
move.
You don't know what to tell that person to do for you because
Right.
you don't even know what you need,
Right.
right? But if someone suggests, could I come over and fix a cup of tea and we'll just sit together?
Right.
Well, that might sound like just the most beautiful thing to do that you wouldn't think of yourself,
Yeah.
right? Because you're in the molasses, right?
Right.
So,
Or
so
get
being
out
more
for a
specific
walk.
in your offers of help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I really like the plants, I think plants and living things are very nice remembrances.
They are.
We have a comment from Marissa Rose. My mother is on hospice and we are having open conversations about death, and it's beautiful. What a gift to do that.
That's a beautiful gift to be able to do
Yeah,
that.
and that's so, and it's just so, it's so healing for the generations. And it's a beautiful transition to do that. And that's what I look at Mary Rose's birth as, a transition. She was born twice, here and then in the next world. And I wanted to hold that. And I was going to mother her in life and in death. Whatever I got, I was going to do for her. And I had to do it.
Yes.
It wasn't fun
Yes.
planning a funeral when I was pregnant with the hormones, but I was going to do this for my girl. And people don't understand that, So thank you, Colorado End of Life community, collaborative community, because we need this. So many people just need to know it's okay, and they're going to be okay, and we're going to survive. We don't think we will. We don't think we're going to live through these things, right? Doesn't Annie Lamott say that you're going to lose the person you think you can't live without, and you're going to survive, right? It's in one of her books. I'm paraphrasing. And you're going to survive.
Yeah.
And you think
you're going to survive.
Yeah, it's the worst thing you can imagine, and you will live through it.
And you will survive. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have the strength to survive. You do.
Yeah. So for all the bereavement folks, I just want to encourage you to reach out and hold each other and know you're not alone. There's so many of us, and that's why I wrote my book. I wrote the book because there was no book like this when I was pregnant, and I wanted real. I didn't want someone to tell me, oh, take the baby to the zoo when you're pregnant. That's not helpful. That wasn't helpful for me to make memories. And I wanted the raw, my first sentence in the book, my baby is dead. And it's a very raw book. It was a little hard to share some of it that I did.
It's raw, it's real, it's authentic, it's beautiful, it's sad.
Thank you, Cindy.
It's life.
It's life.
Right? It's life and it's death. It's everything that we are all going to experience, not only for the people that we love and the babies that we love, but for ourselves eventually. It'll be our turn.
My friend Kirsty read this book when her mother was dying of Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. And she said it helped her, and I didn't expect it to. It helped her honor her mother and enjoy those moments and let her go. And I thought, how beautiful that my book about my baby girl could help her do that with her beautiful mother. I was so touched that she shared that with me. Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's lovely. Well, is there anything we didn't touch on that you were hoping to share today?
I'm sure. Well, we can get together again.
Of course.
I don't know where the rainbow baby comes from, Vanessa. It's a very common term. And for those who don't have another chance after their losses, it's very hurtful, because it makes it seem like we don't deserve a rainbow, or, like, oh, only those people get the blessing of another baby. And so again, to me, it's divisive instead of just
divisive. It also makes you feel like that you are obligated to try for another baby. And for some people, they make the decision not to,
Mm-hmm.
and that's okay too. There doesn't
That's right.
have to be a rainbow baby.
Yeah. There's no such thing as a rainbow baby. They're all equally at risk for all kinds of things.
They
And
are.
there's no, and
And they're all to be honored.
and
They're all to be
why
honored.
can't the dead baby be the blessing? That's the thing.
Right. That is the thing. Yeah.
Why can't we honor them and count them as our blessings, not as the terrible thing that happened to you, as one friend emailed me one day, but just as a gift that teaches us to live more urgently, to find more joy, to find more beauty in every day, and to be more authentic and to really live our lives in full, because we know how fragile we all are, we on the planet.
Yeah. And if you're wondering if a parent who's had a loss wants to talk about it, I would say ask. Give them the space.
Yeah.
So let them know that you're comfortable.
That's nice.
Maybe not even comfortable, because it's uncomfortable. How about just open? Just able to be present for that, even if it's uncomfortable, right?
I think, it doesn't, if you do it a few times, it's not that uncomfortable for me anyway. I mean, I don't know. There's something so beautiful about talking to moms and seeing pictures of their babies when they're going through this. There's something so beautiful about open.
But I think you've gotten to that place.
I have, and I've been doing this for years, but there's,
and even people, but I guess what I'm thinking is for people who haven't gotten to that place, even if it's uncomfortable,
it is
if you
uncomfortable.
If you knew it was going to help your friend,
yeah. I mean, I hear
be able to share, and the friend knows that you're a safe space to do that in. Right? You're not going to shut it down.
No, but there is such a beauty about being included in that short life and being a part of the story. And opening your heart to hold the short life that most people won't know about. There's something beautiful, and it connects us to our ancestors. It connects us to the earth. It's just it's so human to me.
It is.
To do that.
It's beautiful work, and I'm glad you're doing it, because we need you.
Thank you.
We need you in this work. So, unless we have anything else, unless you can think of anything else.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Cindy, for
thank you so much.
Me.
I appreciate you taking this time. I love that you are now in our collaborative as an affiliate member, and so we'll see more wonderful things from you coming up, and we can certainly have another conversation at any point. And so for everyone watching, we thank you. And Dianna will put in the comment fields her contact information. So if you want to keep in touch and look for her courses and her future writings and support her work, and follow her along. So
thank you, Cindy.
Thank you so much. I honor you. I honor Mary Rose.
Thank you. I honor you, dear Cindy. Thank you so much for this experience.
You're very welcome. Have a beautiful day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.